It's not network. Okay, good evening, our dear viewers. Today is Thursday. It's already 4:30 with our usual program, What Law. Today I'm privileged, or we are privileged together with you, the viewers, to host uh, a classy, entertaining teachers, mentors on our show today. And before even I introduce them to you, myself, I'm so joyous because this has been a dream awaiting for us as a telecom staff and hosts. And I'm so happy to introduce introduce to you our guest. One is my senior. She will introduce herself and tell us all her titles and achievements she has already achieved through her experience. And also, we are back with our previous guest. She will also introduce herself, and then we unveil our topic of today. So, thank you so much.
You are welcome. Good evening, dear viewers. My name is Susan Zemei, an advocate in Uganda. I work with a team of 6 young lawyers, not young lawyers, but
Associates.
lawyers, associates.
Okay.
We are based in Masindi. That doesn't stop us from working in other places.
Okay.
Yeah, I will not share achievements. We have so many dreams to live, but we live one day at a time. I think God has been gracious and guided us in delivering the much deserving legal services that our community needs. And to me, I pride in this, that every day we reach a life that needs legal protection in the realm of their lives.
All right.
We're glad to be here.
Yes, but now somebody outside there want to know what's your address, because you told you're working within town. So I would love to know if I'm going to look for Council Zemei Susan. Where is she located? Her address?
We're located at plot 33, Masindi Port Road. It's just opposite MTN Service Center, Masindi, neighbored by the Venue Hotel.
Or we say at post office, behind post office.
Post office building.
I think that would be the best mapping you're giving someone who want to come to your office.
Okay.
Yeah. Before we go to our second guest to introduce herself,
Yeah.
I understand you. Yeah, she's a Narongo, by the way, though she didn't tell you. And she has a legal background of a legal aid clinic. Yes. And she was the boss, Masin branch. Yeah, I know she forgot to tell you. And also she's under Rotary. Which position do you hold?
I'm a Rotarian, a proud Rotarian.
Yes.
I am the Assistant Governor, Northern Area 2, that's District 9 to 13.
Wow.
It covers the areas of Chivoga, Masindi, Hoima, and Chigumba. Okay. I've been a past president of my club.
Wow. So we are here with the president.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes, I'm a mother to so many little Ugandans. I'm proud to be a mother. It's a good place to belong.
Indeed.
It gives us a challenge to improve every day.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah. So we are happy. So we're going to miss. We had already missed that Rotarian positions. There are many Rotarians outside there.
The portfolio I've worked. I worked with Public Defender as a fresh graduate.
Okay.
From there, I joined the Uganda Law Society in Kampala.
Yes.
I worked heading the Albertine region before branching off to work with a team at Zemei Law Chambers.
To a private business, private.
I don't know whether you prefer to call it private.
Yeah, I prefer to call it private because you're a boss of your own.
No, I work with a team.
But you're heading the team.
Yes, I'm glad.
They are associated and you are the partner in that business.
Yes, I am.
Yes, actually the MD.
Yes.
So we are so happy. She's really an iron lady. And one thing I know about her, she's really innovative. She's aggressive to anything that is so progressing and that can unite people. She's a mother. She's a loving person. So myself, I'm so privileged to host you.
You forgot to say that I've mentored you.
And actually, yes. Yes, she has mentored me, by the way, right from 2013. You see? So that's when I call my senior and my boss.
So it's a
I'm
different.
right to say. So we are so happy to have you today. And it's been a dream, actually a dream awaiting. We have been always advertising, telling people you're coming, but because of your busy schedule, we understand and we always politely take your apologies.
Please take my apologies. Genuinely, I'm glad I could be here this time. At times, time doesn't favor me.
Mm,
I try to strike a balance between so many things that I do in
mm,
between life.
okay.
I'm glad to be here,
Oh,
and I
wow.
hope to reach our lovely audience.
Thank you so much. Then to our second guest, please. Last week we are with you, and even today, mean that whatever you said was really helpful to our society, to the viewers outside there. They
Yeah.
loved the content you really unveiled to us. So please, can you really remind us of yourself? Thank you.
I'll not talk much. My name is Prudence Lukoye, like I said, and you can also call me Ambitious Prude. And when I
Ambitious.
mentioned that last week, somebody went laughing. But of course, that is us for the social platforms.
Oh yes.
Yes, but of course, I am also a lawyer working with the Legal Aid Clinic of LDC. That
Yes.
is a Legal Aid Clinic of Law Development Center,
Mm,
Masindi branch. And
okay.
like we said last week,
Mm,
we are headed by head office, which is at LDC
mm,
main branch. And then we are also saturated in different parts of the country.
okay.
That is where we have we have other branches that are
Mm,
also offering the same services.
okay.
Do I have to repeat the services we offer?
Yeah, just briefly in summary so that we go to our topic.
Yes, as the legal aid clinic, like if you all remember last week, I said that anything that deals any sickness that needs a touch of the law, I said we are the clinic for you.
Okay.
Yes, you
Not
can
an
always.
hospital.
No, we are the clinic for you,
Yes.
and we will handle all those legal matters, all those legal related issues. You need representation, we are here for you. You need mediation, you need assistance generally. Do you need to buy land? Do you need probably to make agreements, or
Mm,
what do you need? You need to register your companies, whatever it is that requires law. That is what we do. And probably what you need to know is that that we offer our services
mm.
at no cost. That is for the legal representation. All the services of a lawyer, we do them at on pro bono basis, which is
Um,
services at no cost, free,
Including drafting sales agreements.
free legal
that's what I wanted to
services.
ask her.
No, 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 not including drafting. So
Uh-huh.
of course, there are times when you may have to pay some money for certain services that we don't have, or services that don't fall under the category of legal representation.
Maybe actually to a viewer outside they will want to know which
Mm,
are those services that are payable, that you have
okay.
to pay a fee for you to
Mm,
be maybe to be helped. But
okay.
now because we have known from your presentation that litigation
Mm-hmm.
in court is pro bono.
Uh,
Now,
generally, generally, as a clinic,
mm,
what we do is we offer you the services of a lawyer, meaning you're
mm,
not going to pay lawyer the instruction fees to go
okay,
and stand in for you in court.
mm,
However, of course, formally we used to even facilitate that documentation. You don't have money probably for commissioning documents, or
mm,
you don't even have filing fees. Formally, with the funding, we would do that for you. So
mm.
that meant everything was free of charge. You just come, give
But
us the
now,
details. But currently, we don't have funding, and that means
mm,
as a client, or as that person who is benefiting from our services, you have to pay
assessment fees,
you
filing
think
fees.
things that require court filing fees, you have to pay. If
Oh,
you want us, let's say, to come to the village for a
mm,
locust visit and maybe handle the matter there, definitely you have to clear. You have to cover for the costs of transporting the lawyers.
to the locust
And of
visit
course, things like bail, we can secure bail, but definitely if it is a cash bail, you don't expect us
to pay for you.
to pay for you
Okay,
the cash bail.
thank you so much.
Yes, and of
Now
course
back
many
to that
others.
question.
True.
If I come to legal aid clinic
Mm-hmm.
and I want to buy land,
Mm-hmm.
and believe in my back of my knowledge that I know it's a free service. Now, if I'm asked a fee, what kind of fee will it be? Will it be these other normal fees from other private law firms, or
Like we had talked,
to be negotiable?
like we had said last week earlier on, we said that as a legal aid clinic, of course, there are those clients we call the indigents, those people that cannot afford the services of a lawyer, and those we act for them free of charge. However, the governing law to the legal aid clinic, or to the rules of pro bono, allows the lawyers under the legal aid clinic or under pro bono scheme to charge a certain fee in case the client is not an indigent. But of course, the fee will always be less than what would be charged by a private lawyer. For
what
instance,
council may will charge will be
of course,
a bit less compared to yours.
my elder sister will ask you for 5 million, and then when you come to my office, I'll tell you, you see,
2 million
me, I am a young sister. You can give me 1 million.
Okay, thank you
Something
so much.
like that, of course.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now, back to our topic. Today's topic our view is the validation of a land transaction. What makes a land transaction valid? You know, we have had people do land transactions, and at the end of the day, they come crying. There are a lot of frauds. You know, there are a lot of now mostly where the dealings are including the agents, the middlemen, who mediate the buyer and the seller. So, and sometimes you find even there are two issues when somebody is buying a non-titled land, or when somebody is buying a titled land. People always have issues. Some people even don't know how a title looks like, but they want to buy a titled land. Somebody doesn't know, he wants to buy, but he's not sure. How do I find out? How do I really assess that this title is valid? So, those are the issues today we want to unveil to our viewers so that they may understand. Tomorrow, when he's going to buy land, from today's presentation, he or she will be able to know that when I'm going to buy land, I must do this to ascertain the validity of the land or the title and the owner. You understand? Then two, so that they also know how do you engage in as the lawyer? How do you come in for somebody who is dealing in land? You see, there are people in the local areas. We have found out that the brokers who present themselves as lawyers, and they have really spoiled the professional, the professional caliber that people really always have been giving us, the honor and the respect. Like, because of the other crooked ways they do, people now look us at the same level. They say, our lawyer Muliba Bimwina. Because the broker came and presented himself as a lawyer and did it, and they drafted an agreement without knowing the features of the agreement, without knowing the conditions. So you find that people are making errors. An LLC one in a village will draft an agreement of a sale of land, but neglects important key features of a land sale agreement. So today, those are the things we want to talk about. And I believe, from your experience, these are the things you have really been meeting, and you have always handled them. So today, we want to start from our senior counsel. No senior is always senior. I remember from Kunya said, when you meet senior goes fast. So today we want to our senior counsel to open up this session by telling us, how do you ascertain a valid land transaction?
Okay, number one, if you're going into land, the law that governs contracts is what will protect you.
Okay.
Land is not a commodity like a tomato that you're walking to a store to buy. It's property that is fixed. It has value that keeps appreciating. Now, for this reason, when you're buying land, you need to exercise what we call due diligence. Take all the reasonable steps.
Maybe you can even mix in Uganda if you can, so that
take all the reasonable steps that would be required. Like, who is the owner? Emma bw'aba azze wange angamba nze nannyini ttaka, lyenkana bwe liti
Mm.
nditunda.
Mm.
Njagala ligula nga nze. Step 1 gy'olina okukola kwe kubuuza Emma ettaka walifuna otya. Okay? Walifuna otya. Funako history y'ettaka eryo. Get the history. How did this person get the ownership? Was it given as a gift? Was it bought? Or it's a different, was it inherited? Why do you need to do this background check? It gives you the next step on what you should do before you can enter into any agreement or even go into negotiation on the terms of the transaction. Now, if upon finding out this, if there are documents that he owns, I will require him to hand me the documents so that I look at them to understand and also appreciate for myself that what I'm going to into is genuine. Now, paperwork is not conclusive that somebody actually owns land. We've seen transactions where people have fabricated certificates of title.
Okay.
And because somebody has been given a certificate, they are very excited. Council, me, I'm here. We've agreed. The price is this. The land, I know it. Make for us an agreement. There is more to be done before the agreement. Now, if it is property that he owns individual and it has no title, you need to be more vigilant on the ground. Ntegeeza nti agenda ku ttaka yogerako ne balirwana babuuze ani nannyini wano abaddewo obudde bwenkana butya.
Atulaba kyo kizibu kibeerawo nti people want to delegate.
Nedda ssebo, when you're buying land you don't delegate.
I want you to emphasize on that because
you don't
people who might be frauded by delegating. So let my father go and visit the land. See?
What I normally tell people, one, when you're buying land, you don't buy it in a hurry. Take your time.
Okay.
Because you're trying to avoid things that are avoidable. So if you go to the ground and make inquiries, there are things that will come out. And you have to satisfy your mind. Will I go into this? After that, then you go back. If it is titled land, make sure that you do a search, conduct a search to satisfy yourself that the title was given to you stands without any encumbrances. Tugamba tutya either omuntu yagiteekayo mu bank nga kuliko mortgage,
yes.
oba waliko abantu abalala baclaiminga interest nga balogingako caveats. Information eno esigalako original copy eri mu lands office. Tesobola kubeera ku copy ya owner. Normally the owners get a duplicate. The original remains in the registry. So do that search. It's at a cost, but it helps you. Because your interest will be subject to the interest of those people who are registered. If it has no interest, then you take it on from there. You buy. Now, if it's land inherited, my father's land, if my father died today, God forbid, will not become my land automatically because I'm his daughter. No. It is
his land.
It is land for a dead person. Just put it that. It's land for a dead person.
Yes.
A dead person cannot sell his unless court has appointed somebody that we call an administrator.
Or a probate.
Administrator where there is no will, or a hold of letters of probate where there is a will.
Yes.
So what exactly now follows? The family should have agreed that let there be a sale because you are a delegated person appointed by court to act for the family. So if it's that form, then you take it to the next step. Who are the family members? Who are your siblings? Can we talk to them? Find out if they're okay with the sale.
Yeah. Now, actually, before we go far, yeah, also something else I feel is something that a viewer should understand. Don't you think there's a need for a person who is willing to buy to also search and find out who is the true owner of that land? Because they may bring someone. I've seen problems, questions, or even the physical question in the field, whereby somebody present himself as the owner of the land. But they make all the arguments, and then the sale transaction is complete, and then later on bakulabira ku radio munange oguze abaguze ettaka lya guni ne guni mwaguze empewo. Then how does someone avoid such kind of scenario?
If you took the steps that I'm saying, for example, it's an administrator selling or an individual who says yes, tata yafa naye ffe twagabana buli omu alina kiki. You engage the family. The truth will come out at some point. In a family, you'll have some people who agree. Some families connive to get money from people. But take your time. Ask, how many are you? And where are the others? Take time to engage them. If it's genuine that they did the sharing, they should have those minutes of sharing, which you should look at. You could even take an extra step to talk to the chairperson LC1. Though some of these offices, depending on which individual you meet, have their own complications. But do that background search. Talk to the families, talk to the individuals surrounding the land. You'll find a lot of amazing facts. And by the end of 3, 5, or 1 week, you'll have known
who is the true owner of the land.
Yes, whether you're taking it or not. So those are the things that I was saying are avoidable. Are avoidable before you can think of any negotiations.
Yeah, I think
now
also
that is the second category. Now there is this other style of somebody coming and saying, I got this land as a gift. If you're being given land as a gift, the law makes it mandatory that the agreement, the giving must be in writing. Does this person have the write up? That I, Zemei, have given this much land to Prudence.
Yes.
If it's not there, go slow. If possible, don't buy. The people who come, I advise them, no, we can stop at that. I think this is not worth it. Now the challenge is people who walk in before you even advise. No way, Prudence munywanyi wange. What I'm talking about is something that I know. And this is something that I know them. Just make for us an agreement, we go. As lawyers, we have to be slow on that. As lawyers, we have to really be very slow on that. Because there are gaps that will be covered. Just because somebody is your friend does not mean they will be genuine. And this is where the biggest levels of fraud are coming. Because I trust you, because I know you're my OB, I've told you I need land on Entebbe Road, or I need land in Kijungu, in Masindi.
And you tell me work as property agents.
Council, the thing is here. Oh, it's okay. Council, we've talked. Just make for us an agreement. It's not safe.
You see, we have had such an incident some time back. I think last year, towards end of last year, someone comes with documents and they are telling you see, council, for us we came and they made for us a document. And when you follow into depth, you find out that these people actually did not agree on whether the land is there or not. That is one thing. But of course, they knew it was there somewhere. No, they did not agree on whether the land is there or not. That is one thing. This guy did not find out the status of the land
because
at
you
that
have not
time.
visited the physical land.
Secondly, yes. Secondly, in the agreement, it was noted that this money was paid in cash. The money was paid in cash to the vendor. You ask the vendor, you ask the purchaser, they tell you, olwo olunaku lwe twajja tetwaleeta ssente. Actually, ffe twajja nga byawedde dda ne batuwandiikira endagaano, ffe ne tumugamba looya akole ki? Atuwandiikire. You see now such a scenario. At the end of it all, you are looking at someone you cannot help. And subsequently, the person who allegedly sold this land has died. You see, the mother has also died. And now you're having a third party coming to claim such land. And yet this would have been cured the very first time when this person was going to buy the land, and they make sure they have followed actually the requirements of a valid contract, which we were talking about, the agreement. It did not follow all that was required.
Madam Prudence, Now these are issues coming up again.
Yeah.
Nze ndi musajja,
Mm.
nze nyini ettaka.
Mm.
I want to sell it.
Mm.
Can that one stop me from selling it when I'm married?
Oli musajja nannyini ttaka. What do you mean?
Because we know we are looking at validation
Mm.
of a land transaction, sale. Now, I'm a married man. I have my land, maybe which I can call it individual property. Now, after my demise, or maybe after when I want to sell, then you come in and say, nange ndize mukyala w'omusajja oyo.
The law.
So therefore, whatever is sold is not valid because I did not consent. So, how do you go about that?
The law does not bar or does not restrict someone to sell the property that belongs to them. And I heard you in your statement saying that this is your individual property, meaning it is not matrimonial property. That is one. And either it is not property that you have bought jointly, or you are, meaning you're not owning it as joint tenants.
Or it's not a matrimonial.
Very good. So that does not deny you from selling your land.
That will I need a spouse consent?
You don't need spousal consent on individual property, but you would always need spousal consent on property which makes part of the home, what we call family land or matrimonial property.
Maybe I can ask this question to senior counsel.
Yes.
At what stage does a property becomes a family property? Because I believe if me I'm a man and I bought a property, it's already a family property, because if in case maybe I pass on, this very property I call individual will still become a family property when we are looking out for those property that belong to the late.
Okay. Family property is a very interesting area that the law needs to keep resting in. Legally, family land is that land that the family ordinarily resides on, and or that land where the family derives sustenance. Like if it's rentals, you have a home where you stay, you collect rent from this property, and whatever comes out of this house meets your family needs. This qualifies as family land. If it's land where the family digs or cultivates to get food, this is family land. Now, legally, the High Court and even the Supreme Court has made decisions declaring that all property acquired, the properties that can be acquired. Sorry, let me separate this. So if it's this property where the family derives sustenance, your question was, as a man, I bought
Can
my
even
land.
be a woman, by the way.
Or as a woman, I bought my land, but I'm married. Can I sell my land? Exclude these properties that I've specified. If you bought it individually, yes, it's even certificate of title in your name, but your family's welfare, the school fees, the feeding comes from that property. Automatically, it qualifies as family land. If it's this type,
you can repeat that statement for the viewers.
The land where the family resides or stays.
Yes.
Where me as a wife, the children, and my husband call a home is family property.
Oh, yes.
The land where we cultivate crops for the family to feed is family land. Even if these crops are sold for sale to get money, to get other needs for the family, it's family land. The land or rent or commercial properties where rent is collected to sustain the family is family land.
Yes.
So I don't want people to, we don't need to mix it and say, no, family land is strictly where people sleep. No, it extends beyond that.
Okay.
So if the land you're buying falls in these categories, you will need the written consent of your wife. She has to agree in writing. Me, Zemei Susan, I have given my consent or permission to my husband. Specify the name to sell our family land, measuring these acres developed with this in writing.
Mm.
It doesn't have to be oral, like I've accepted you, sell.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that you just bring your wife or your husband to just witness the sale. It has to be written permission.
Okay.
Yes. Then if it's property which is outside this,
Mm.
yeah, it has to be signed.
Mm.
It has to be signed and witnessed,
Mm.
because it's possible that you could do you could influence her wrongly with threats
Yes.
to
Yes.
give you that consent.
Coerce her to
So
do
let
it,
this
accept-
consent be witnessed by at least two people.
Mm.
By at least two people.
Mm.
Then if the land that you're selling is not in these categories,
Mm.
then you can sell it without the spousal consent.
Okay.
You can sell it.
Mm.
But as a buyer, you have to take the steps necessary to establish if this man is selling, what kind of interest has the wife got in.
Mm.
It's not offending if you reach the spouse and actually talk to them.
Mm.
At times, you even reach them, you say, Prudence, my husband is selling to me property. Are you okay with it? Yes, you will be like, no. But going,
Obviously.
children,
I don't even know about
we don't want to go into family issues.
Mm.
We may go so deep.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think now you have extensively explained what amounts to family property, and also to your presentation, you also seem to have told us how a property individual can become a family property. For example, you said if that property is though it is individual, but it's deriving sustenance for the family, it will automatically qualify to be a family property. So I don't want to advise men or women not to declare where sustenance comes from, but that's what it is. That's what the law is.
Of recent court has, of course, ruled
Mm.
in several occasions that all property or everything acquired during the subsistence of marriage
Mm.
is determined as what? As family property. My senior maybe can also have something to say, is it? Because that is what the rulings are. The ruling is that whatever you have acquired during the subsistence of the marriage is family property. And we are seeing people, struggling for this,
Do you mean to say?
including the
No,
degrees
do
and
you
everything.
mean to say?
No.
Council clarified
There's
because
been a variation
Yes.
of those rulings. Another leading cases in divorce petitions where parties are dividing properties. There's been variation. And I think what I explained is what the position is. Now, what the public needs to know is some people, some children, even when you're 50 years, you remain a child, to your
of
dad
course.
and mom. They imagine they have a right to hold these cells by their parents. It's a
Okay.
very wrong perception. As a child, as a son, as a daughter in this home, your consent is not required anywhere when your parents are selling property.
mukitegedde bannange
It is the spouse
isi
to
mukyala
give
maama wo
consent.
yalina olukusa oba taata
The varying,
naye si mwana.
yes. And you find big boys and big girls. I call them that because so long as you go above 18 years,
yes.
you're now old.
Yes.
You're going into fighting for family property. Anyway, we shall not go there. But your consent is not required when your parents are selling property or family property. Yeah. So now, I will not go, I may deviate. So what makes a land transaction now valid? You've done all the background check.
Oh, yes.
You're satisfied. And you're confident that you can now buy. Making an agreement. I believe this question falls there. One, who is buying? What is their address? What is their contact? You see, national identity card has become a hot cake lately.
Yeah, for sure.
What
now.
is their NINI number?
Probably even, by the way, even the law is saying talking about a TIN.
What is
Your
what is
TIN.
their
Yeah, by the way,
number?
yeah, TIN number is also
TIN
coming
number
to
may
become a
be so
requirement.
far. TIN
Mm.
number may be so far
Mm.
because that applies where there is going to be
A
a
transfer.
registerable interest
Mm.
for registered land.
Okay.
But we have Vibanja, we have lands which are not registered.
Mm.
So maybe in that, but for the three, the seller's name, address, contact, what is their identity? What's their identity? I faced a scenario where somebody held out as another person and sold.
Yeah, those are the scenario we are looking at
Those are
today.
issues we are
Mm.
battling differently.
Mm.
So this is to help you with identity issues. At least let me, if it's not an ident card,
Mm.
let me see your driving permit, your passport. You cannot fail to have any identification document on you.
Don't you think, council, also that the issue of identity will also help to know who is the real proprietor? Because now your identity the names on the identity must match with what is on the title.
Yes, that's why it's important
Or for unregistered
that
land.
at this point I
Mm.
get some kind of identification about you.
Mm.
The same applies to the person who is selling
Mm.
or buying. Who are you? What is your address? Now that's the first bit. 2, which property are you buying? How much of the property are you buying? How
Mm.
much of the land?
Mm.
How much money are you giving?
Council,
in
before we
exchange?
go there,
Mm.
how do I protect a client who is buying unregistered title? Because we're looking back on the issue of identification.
Apana, you can't say unregistered property
No,
title.
you see, and unregistered land,
Unregistered interest.
unregistered interest. Because now you know this person. You're looking at I'm looking at the identification on the point of identification. The person can camouflage and say I'm the owner and stand on the land. We have seen them.
Mm.
Waliwo betulabyeeko
They're
even when they're
various.
getting a loan. Nayimya ku musiri gwa gundi n'akuba ebifaananyi abalozi officer n'abagaba munana they connive the chairperson and they make an agreement. But when it comes time for execution of the land, there's different information. And those things happen always on the lands which are not titled. Yes, not registered. So now, how do you protect the interest of your client who is looking to buy a land and the land is not registered, but he will want to know, am I buying from a right person?
In my opening remarks, was very clear.
Mm.
Have you done the first steps?
Of
Did
due
you
diligence.
inquire from the neighbors? Did you reach the land with a surveyor, with a GPRS, surveying, moving around? Not once, twice, at most 3 times.
Did you even talk to the
Council.
neighbors?
Now, let me, you people, let's go field. Eh? Let's be physical.
Yeah.
There are people who are absentee landlords. I have seen people who have never even seen their neighbors. He knows, or I know, this is my boundary, but you have never known. Okay, I was in court one time when someone was testifying, and they were saying now they came to survey land, but they asked him where was a neighbor. Was supposed to be a witness on it. He said, I have never seen the neighbor. I've stayed in that land for a long time, but I know that land belongs to someone. Now, in such kind of scenario, the land, your absentee landlord, for example, the land is in Kakumiro, and council, you are never in Kakumiro. Someone will go and tell somebody, this is my land. And the neighbors, they always keep frequenting the land so that they keep seeing them. And by the time they get a neighbor, no, due diligence, no. Tumulaba nnyo bulijjo awo. Kirabika yennyini ttaka eryo. Kirabika bulabisi kubanga gwe tobeerawo. Naye gwe mu document ekituufu gwaliyo. But the land is not registered. So, how do you help that kind of client who want to buy such kind of land?
Okay, how do you protect their interests? 1, did you go to the ground? Have you talked to the neighbors?
Yes, I have done that.
Have you done survey? Not once. Banange ettaka ly'ogula sooka mugendeko n'ebiti mutambulemu. Next time go back again. Don't go alone. Go with a crowd.
Even without
First of all,
informing them.
people will look at you suspiciously. Zeme is not based in Kakumiro.
Mm.
The face is very different.
Mm.
She's come with a group of people. What are they doing here?
Mm-hmm.
the eyebrows will raise. You go third time. We are still doing what? Measurements. Don't go once because you found somebody and they are in. You'll buy the papers. They call them papers. You'll buy papers. You'll not be buying
The
land.
NASA papers.
Yeah, you'll not buy land. You need to do a lot of background check. When you're buying land, that is not registered. And that's why for me, in such scenarios, if you're a vigilant person and you came and I gave you in 4 questions, I would just know that this person is not ready to even enter into this transaction. And I'll bullet them up for you. The difference is you'll go to another person who is thriving, acting as a lawyer, and because they're also billing you very little money, you're like, Mguze, I've finished. Now, these are the cases which end up coming to us to remedy. You're remedying something and you're seeing there was no vigilance at all. There are no steps taken at all.
And you know why? Do you know what causes that?
No.
Lack of facilitation to their lawyers.
No, but
somebody will come
my
to you.
sister is here.
No,
she told you
Rita.
for her advice is free.
Now, let me ask her. Let me ask you, Prudence. Let me ask Prudence.
Yes.
Prudence.
Yes.
When clients come, and you know such kind of transactions are very expensive, they involve a lot of lump sum of money.
True.
And you know this challenge we have in Uganda, people are mean. Ogenda mugamba ngu your transaction, we shall need to do a due diligence, a program checkup. Aja kujanga ayaka. Njagala kye nkigwenze ebweru. Njagala kye kigwenze ku mulimo. You see? And yet, as you said, because you gave us a good point, that twala obudde bwo. Naye ntayagala kutwala obudde bwe, agamba ze sende kasabu zeruwawo ngenda kuzirya. Now, oyo muntu is a client. Because I've seen clients who drive lawyers. Otegera ye yakuvuga to extra ajja kuba ekyokola nedda kulaba woti awono kola woti otegera
yakutegeerera
agamba nkusasudde naye ate kola kyengamba
nze oba tonsasudde sente zo
kati awo how do you help such kind of client? Yes, you need to do a due diligence to safeguard his or her interest. Naye kati yakugamba talina budde.
Kati labayo, one thing we need to tell the public actually is if you want to buy land,
Yes.
like my senior said, land is not vegetable. It is not a vegetable. It is not like a tomato whereby you just walk to the market, any vendor, whoever has, obanga nanyini ttaka tabadde, nanyini mudaala taliiwo, mulala n'akuguza, it is just okay. You get? Land is something that needs due diligence.
Oh, yes.
You need to be careful and also you need to be patient. These frequent movements actually to the locus are not in vain. That probably on the 3rd visit to the land is when you will find the real owner. Nga naye bamutiipinzeko mugambye naye omanyi ennaku zino tubadde nga tulaba gundi Prudence ng'ajja wano n'abantu ayinza okuyita emabega. You see things like that.
Yeah.
That is how you get to know the gist of what you're buying. So I don't have any remedy to that. I can only tell the person, if you're buying land, it is valuable property. You need to be patient and vigilant. Even
Now,
as a lawyer, tewetaaga kunvuga speed because there are things. Some of them bakutegeerera. Togenda even when you're giving me your money, nze nasoma. Okitegeera.
We have these village lawyers, eh?
Agenda byekolere mu kooti. You see one thing our clients, by the one thing our clients forget is
she will see one of them.
No, no. Actually, of course, that was an obiter. But one thing our clients need to know is that at the end of it all, when we do things that are not good, we as lawyers, there is something like we are like throwing trash on our own names. We are mine it with, falsehoods. If today, okay, I want to take an example of my sister. If she had made awkward decisions, if she had made those transactions without due diligence, just compromising, she would not be there. She would not still be in the system up to now. But one thing that protects us as lawyers is that you do not compromise on anything.
Actually, you do not compromise on your intelligence.
The law remains the law. So if you think, or if a client thinks that their money is everything, you see, you may come around on my table and you're telling me, okay, you see, Council Prudence, you offer pro bono, but now I have a deal, I am giving you 10 million. Ogenda kugula akataka nawe weyagale mu masindi. And then I'll tell you, okitegeera bwatyo wajja okitegeera nze nkuyambye ngenda kuwa ssente. One thing I keep telling my people is I am not bought.
Okay.
You will not bribe me with your money and I do a wrong thing. The right thing remains.
Thank you so much. Now,
Yes.
Council Prudence,
Yes.
do you think that the local authorities have also aided the issue of fraudsters in land sale transactions?
The issue of local leaders, I will say it comes back to an individual.
How?
It comes back to an individual. We have local leaders who are very vigilant and
honest.
strict and honest.
Mhm.
They know what they are supposed to do, and actually they do
And
it.
there are very few.
We have local leaders who know every resident. You have a photo of your resident, you know exactly where they stay. Neya akajja ku kyalo nga bamumanyi. You
Council,
get?
do you think the local leaders are to blame in these issues we're talking about?
Mine is not to apportion blame. We appreciate the role of local leaders in reaching these transactions.
Yes.
The instances where they have really aided false agreements. This, I've witnessed it. It has been presented before me so many times. Somebody makes an agreement, it is witnessed and stamped by the chairperson LC1. And the chairperson knows the person selling this land
is not the owner of
is
the land.
not the owner of the land.
And yet are the people whom we want to give us history.
Now, in which scenarios are these things coming up? Somebody wants to go and obtain a loan from a bank. They don't have any security. The chairperson knows the person has no security.
Yeah.
Just because they walk to them and they make a fictitious agreement. Fictitious. The land is not there. The person selling does not own land, but he has papers giving him land, my friend. This is how the local leaders are misguiding these institutions. Same applies to absentee landlords. The local leaders are born in these places. They know the properties and they know the owners. But because they know the owner is not around, there is a caretaker. They get comfortable and write agreements. The person who is managing my farm makes land, selling my land to another person. And because he has been there, even if people went there, they say, no, he has authority, he can sell. Yes. Now the agreement, maybe the manager tells the local council, this is also how it comes. The manager tells the chairperson that, no, my boss has authorized me to sell. And the chairperson believes them and goes ahead and makes the transaction. Actually writes the agreement. Now, how do we avoid this? That's why he started on a note of not apportioning blames. For an absent landlord who is selling land, his authority for sale must be in writing. There is something in law that we call a power of attorney.
Yeah.
Not just in writing, but a registered document.
Okay.
Special powers of attorney. I, Lukoye Prudence, authorize Emmanuel Ahumza to sell my 10 acres of land in this space. To witness, to endorse in my place. This document has to be registered by the Office of the Registrar of Companies. You have to pay revenue for it, and it has to be presented before you can make any agreement. Because once it's done without this, that agreement is what we call null and void. It's not enforceable.
Okay.
You cannot sell what you do not own.
Mm.
You cannot sell what you do not own.
Mm.
So the other areas where the difficulties come in are these: absentee persons. A person is not around. Maybe
Mm.
the person is bedridden. Let there be that written consent, and it
Mm.
should be registered.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Now I think we really coming to our time, and let me first receive some comments from the viewers. No. Yeah. Get some comments. Then later on we proceed with our last episode of our show or today's show. But I also want us to, well, as you know, as we have talked about the issue of the local authority, I think this is the gist of all the frauds we have been getting. And actually, when you go to court, you find a lot of issues emanating from the local authorities. Local authorities have really done us disservice when it comes to land transactions because they are the people whom the courts entrust. You know, when you come with a document with a stamp of a local LSC1
They're the
chairperson,
presidents of a village, my
exactly,
friend.
they are honored and respected. But when now the local authorities, local leaders down there, like the LSC1, if you are playing with their office, just know that you are really causing a very big mess to everybody who is within your jurisdiction. Because if you sell out like 3 or 4 pieces of land, which have queries or issues, just know that everything that will be coming from that side, you are already actually devaluing. You're making the place where you are is losing market. Because every time I know who has paid a signature, so and so, like, no, I will not trust that that information. You understand? So local leaders, wherever you are, please try out and step up your game and let you do the right thing. Honesty, it doesn't, honesty is a very big thing, but it really requires a commitment. So we pray that wherever you are, please change up so that you help us to chase out the fraudsters who are coming to steal our land. Now, I want us to ask ourselves, how do I find out if I have a valid land title? Because some people want, like, for example, you want to buy land and you're in, for example, you're in the USA and you're being told there's land in Intoma, but now you want to find out. How do you find out that the land, the Scandi land title they send me is valid, or maybe it's for so and so who has sent it to me and is presenting himself as the owner?
If you're not around, just trust anybody to walk into any lands registry, lands offices,
Mm,
whether Kampala, Masindi, anywhere, any part of Uganda, because these are digitalized systems. Present the facts on the title, request for what we call a search on the title.
Okay.
The results they will give you will always be accurate. The results that will come out endorsed by the Register of Titles
Oh yes.
will confirm whether the title you're given is accurate or not. Yeah. Does they have anything else?
And I think that is it. There is no shortcut to finding out the validity of your title. You can only make a search with the lands, and that's all. Usually the details, of course, are on the title, so you can just walk in there and find out the details.
Okay.
Yes, it will also help you show you probably the encumbrances like we had talked about, or maybe other people's interests on the same land, and then the status of the land, whether it is a leasehold, is it a freehold, whatever it is, you'll just get those details before you proceed with the
Okay.
transaction.
Lastly, let's discuss how do I register and transfer a land title in my name after I've sold it, after I've bought the land. Councils may. Yes, I've bought. Now I want to transfer. Someone outside want to know what process do I go through.
One, you have a written agreement.
Okay.
Because it shows there is sale and there is valuable consideration for the sale.
Yeah.
And then two, you need the seller to sign for you transfer forms. Then the certificate of the title itself has to be presented physically.
Okay.
Then you'll need a copy, a signed photocopy of your national identity card and passport photographs.
Okay.
Then of both parties.
Mm.
And this transfer form has to be witnessed on both sides.
Mm.
Somebody witnesses for the seller and somebody witnesses for the buyer.
Mm.
It can be the same witness or they can be various,
Okay.
depending on the situation.
Mm.
So once these documents are in place, you walk to the office of the Registrar of Titles.
Mm.
They will do assessment for you to pay the necessary transfer fees and the
Mm.
valuation
Mm.
based on the value of the property that you've bought.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Maybe
Mm.
just to add a little thing is
Mm.
that formally you would just present all those documents and things would be done for you, or even one party would be present. But right now, both parties are
Have to be
supposed to
present.
appear.
Okay.
Yes.
For a transfer
And
to
you
Very
should also
good.
have
Yes.
a PIN number.
yeah,
Mm.
The
munange
revenue now goes.
baagala musolo.
Yeah, of course, depending if it is beyond, is it 10 million or is
No,
it
you have
50
to have a
million?
PIN number so long as you're doing a
Your
registration.
registrar, yeah, true. That is it.
Kale.
Mm.
On our comment section, we see we have Mayanja Daniel. Thanks for the show. I'm watching live from Masindi Town. Again, Mayanja Daniel has a question. Lawyers May, we are happy you came. We were waiting for you since day one. Okawulidde.
Thank you, Daniel.
Salama Islam Media, watching from Next Media Plaza, Kampala. Well, thank you, Salama. We are so grateful. Matov Dennis, thanks for the show. Yes, we are also happy that Matov, you are watching. I'm watching from Kijura. That's Matov Dennis. Murungi Elijah, thank you for the show, councils. If you do want to pass on this property or land to succeeding generation, how can it be done? A gift or a sale or simply putting their name on the title? That's a question.
We've taken note of
Yeah. Then Kajula Joffrey, I'm streaming live in Masini. Thanks for the show. Again, Murungi Leja has also asked again, does staying on land for over 15 years guarantee ownership of land?
Okay.
Kind of, I'm kakutte.
Can we pass answer those two questions?
Okay, let's pass out those two questions.
Number one, that's Elijah.
Yeah.
Elijah, how do you pass on land to the next generation?
Mm.
You either write a will
Mm-hmm.
and say, if God called me tomorrow, let my property be distributed in this style.
Mm.
In that style, you're giving away your land
Oh, yes.
in your will.
Mm.
The other way, if you're buying land but your intention is for the next generation or your children,
Mm.
you can choose to register them on the title.
Okay.
Or while buying the agreement, you
Mm.
say you're buying it as a next friend to the minor, so
Mm.
that it's not your property. Yes, you're trustee, but the intention of the buying is for the benefit of your children or whoever you want the property to pass on.
Mm.
So their interest is registered and it's protective enough. Then
Another one is yeah.
The other question was
Staying on land for 15 years, does it guarantee ownership?
staying on land for 15 years does not guarantee ownership. Depending on which land actually you are also staying on, because there is what we call adverse possession. So I think that is the line of argument that person has, or probably has had that rumor that when you stay on land for long, it becomes your land. But now that takes us to another very different topic, which we'll, I think, have to handle in the interest of time. But it does not guarantee you that you're the owner of that land.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have
on
some
land
other?
for 15 just a moment.
Mm.
15 years.
Mm.
How did you come on the land?
Mm.
If I authorize you to stay on my land, even if
As
you
a
stayed there
worker.
50 years, no, even if you're just using it,
Mm.
I authorized you, allowed you to use my land, even if you stay there for 100 years.
Mm.
It's not your land. You have only user rights.
Mm.
Now, the person who qualifies to become maybe a bona fide occupant are these persons who entered land
Mm.
without knowing
Mhm.
who the registered owners are.
Okay.
One, there should be a registered interest. There should be a certificate of title
Mm.
or a leasehold certificate of title
Mm.
for you to qualify as a bona fide occupant.
But yeah.
The conditions are you entered into this land.
Mm.
The 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda had
Mm.
not come into play, or it had not been implemented,
Mm.
and you've stayed there on that land for 12 years or more. it should be registered land.
Mm.
You entered it, and even the person who is the registered owner has
Mm.
never come to tell you, no, you're in a wrong place. But if you've stayed there with permission, or you've been a tenant, it's not your land, even if you stayed there for over those years.
Do you mean that if I want to sell the land, I'm this person who entered the land without knowing I'm the one, I have to first consult or seek his consent before selling off?
Your question is not clear.
Like, for example, as in the same issue, you say now, for example, I'm staying for 15 years over, and he didn't know. Now, actually, is an occupant in that land, and he didn't know that you're the owner. So now you're selling off. Because these are current issues we're having.
Is it the occupant or
It's
the
an occupant, yes. And you want to sell off, you're the owner, now you have come back, you want to sell off your land. And you have all the paperwork which show that this is your land.
which papers?
You have the title, which is the evidence. And the person who has occupied the land for over 15 years and who doesn't know you, now is coming like, say, what? How do you sell the land without does he have to seek his consent?
You don't seek consent of occupants to sell land.
Mm.
But if the person buying wants space, they will talk to these occupants.
See,
And
that's
they
a
will
big
establish the kind of interest that they have. Now, if you're the one buying,
challenge.
you've gone on the land and you found different people there. You're buying this land subject to their interests. It's the risk you take. You're buying land, it's registered land, there are people in occupation, another person is in a possession of the title. You will only have ownership subject to their interests. So if you don't establish the kind of interest they have before buying, you're starting conflicts which are avoidable.
True. Maybe another thing that we needed to note was that that at the time this person was settling on your land as a requirement, did you as the owner allow? If you did not allow, what action did you take? And after how long have you abandoned your land? You see, people have a tendency of buying land. It is registered. Of course, it is their land. They leave it, let's say, in the village, and then they just go on their own business. They keep there for like 20 years, and then someone will just find the land there unused, and someone just tries to occupy that land. Now, that is what we were talking about, that in that incidence whereby you have actually not disrupted the other person that is now occupying the land, then that land can become actually that person's land without interference, my senior, isn't it? Yes, of course, depending on so many factors, and of course,
See,
depending on
debatable
whether,
issue, by the way.
yes,
And
depending
it's
on,
really wide. I think next episode.
yes,
Actually, I think next week, viewers, we shall be talking about more of
yes, of
occupants,
course,
tenants,
depending.
we shall dig deeper next week. Then I have last two more questions. One from Mayanja still, Daniel. Oh, no, was I legal service at Sasulia. My question goes to Council Mayor. How can one value stock options for the purposes of division of land and property during divorce? Two, Matovu Dennis again. This was Mayanja, this is Matovu again. I have a question. Is there a formula for dividing marital property, more so land? And does it have to be strictly equal with each partner? Mwana ku divorcing what demo?
Daniel, what's Daniel's question again? Can I look at it?
Daniel, again, my question is: how can one value stock options for the purposes of division of land and property during divorce?
How would you take stock
Options.
of options for division of property for
Eh,
purposes
during
of
divorce.
Hey,
Banonya divorce bano mbalaba.
no.
Eh.
Upon divorce,
Mm.
how do you do proportion?
Mhm.
It's equal shares.
Mm.
It's equal shares at divorce.
Mm.
Matrimonial property equal shares. Unless you have an agreement, like let it be preserved maybe for the children. But if both of you contributed to it, most homes have ended up into sales
Mm.
at the point of divorce. Some homes we've seen are demolished.
Mm.
Well, I was saying, no, let it be put down.
Mm.
I bought the land, you put the house.
Mm.
So the owner of the land says, I don't want your house on the land. But I
Demolish.
mean, these are people who have stayed together for the past 30 years.
Mm.
Anyway, we don't go into their differences.
Mm.
But if it's what the law provides for is at divorce, property is divided between spouses equally.
Mayanja owulidde.
Then,
Then Matovu, is there a formula of dividing marital property?
I think
Muscle land.
I
Does it
think-
have to be strictly equal with each partner?
the question, I think the answer cuts across.
Yes, cuts
Whether
across,
it's
yeah.
land, whether it's other
Yes,
properties,
yes.
it is in equal shares between the spouses.
Oh,
The
okay.
burden is who takes care of the children.
Oh.
Court always decides.
Hi, thank you so much. This has been a very good show, and we wish next week we shall have more elaborating issues to talk about. And I believe next week we shall be talking about tenants on the land. May God bless you. Have a lovely evening.